Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are discussing The Lost Metal, the last book in Era 2 of Mistborn, chapters 27 through 31, wherein Marsh comes back. I was very tempted at the end of the last episode to be like, Dak's going to like these upcoming chapters, but then, that'd give it away too much. So we get to talk to Marsh and actually have a conversation more than previously. Then the team does a little investigating, and eventually we cut back to Steris for our last chapter to see what we've left behind back in Elendel. So some interesting stuff going on. I'm Data, and with me is
Jamie,
Dak, and Joe.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
No man can truly outlast all the mistakes of his past. There's no haven here for me that's safe from my memories. But when your borrowed time is through, I'll be with you.
So yeah, you guys may not have even remembered this guy that is the mayor of Bilming, who I was like, we've met this guy before. So I'm curious what you guys thought after I said that, and then after you saw him, like, oh, okay, whatever, and how excited Dak must be for Marsh to have returned. So what did you guys think of these? What was it? It was 5 chapters this time.
Well, I think that your tone just summed it up when you said that it was end tone. I was like, oh, is that all? Okay. I was expecting something more exciting, but that's fine. It'll do. Nice to see him progressing in his career, whether it be legally or illegally. We'll see how that's gone for him. But, nice little throwback to the stuff that's happened previously and maybe some things that we were looking at before in New Saran. Maybe this will be a little memory jog for us and some relevance will pop up. I don't know. We'll see how we go. Yes, I read these ones. As soon as I read Marsh was back, I was like, man, Dak's going to be so happy. Also, Dak read this a week ago. He's done it really well to keep this under wraps this whole time. So that was pretty cool. I really did like that we got to sit down and have a conversation with Marsh. I liked that he was just kind of just a guy, with some spikes and some obviously supernatural powers, but he just, at the end of the day, he's like, just call me Marsh, please. Like, I miss that name. I don't need to be Iron Eyes or Death himself, or just Marsh is cool. And we got some, we got some nice information in that conversation too. And then I really like the lead constable. Can't remember her name.
Blantack.
Blantack. Yeah, I think I like her. I hope we get to see a bit more of her. Moonlight is a bit mysterious. I enjoyed that Wayne's kind of onto her. He doesn't figure it out yet, but he's like, she's kind of cool when she's not pretending to be someone else. But it's like, yeah, we'll see how long that lasts for. But there's detective work. I really liked seeing Wayne's process with the hat as well to come up with something really, really useful. And the conversation about how Wax and Marasai, like, they're so different, but they're so good at what they do for different reasons. I just thought that was really nice. And yeah, Steris being in the position that she's in too, that's she's completely out of her comfort zone, but handled it, I guess, reasonably well. But something's happened she didn't account for, so she's kind of in uncharted territory, but she's going to figure it out one way or another. So yeah, I thought they were really great chapters this week, really enjoyable.
Yes, Steris outsmarted herself a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she's got a plan or something, or she's going to come up with a plan. But I like what you said about Wayne talking about Marasai and Wax, because it's really interesting to see his perspective on them and like hear him apparently honestly talk about like how much he admires these two.
Yeah, just some real genuine stuff from Wayne, which has now got me worried about Wayne. And the whole thing with Vendel as well. It's like, no, we're allowed to make fun of you because we like you. Other people are going to make fun of you and you will take them to the cleaners. This is not okay. So you're one of us. You might be weird, but you're one of us. And I thought that was a nice turn too. And you can just see it like sibling relationships and stuff. It's like, no, I'm allowed to beat you up, but if someone else comes to beat you up, we have a problem.
So true.
Not that I condone beating up siblings. Still don't do that, people, if you're listening. Not cool. But yeah, totally get that relationship.
Yeah, you're only 20 years too late to tell Data that, but it's fine.
And I'm sure Dax got that with his siblings too. Me, not so much with mine. It's
yeah, you lucked out.
We have that dynamic. Yeah, I'm the minority, I think.
Yeah, no, I like these a lot. I was the same. It's like when it was Entron, I'm just like, who's this guy again? Oh, it's that dickhead from that party. Oh, okay. Also, it doesn't help that his manner of speaking really reminds me of a guy at work who I've been having serious problems with over the last 6 months. And so now when I picture Entron, I picture that guy. I'm like, man, fuck this guy.
That's probably about how you're supposed to feel, so it's fine.
I mean, yeah, but still, damn it. That was fun. Like, Marsh continues to remind us why he is just the absolute best. He puts on this whole act when he comes into the station, threatening threatening everyone who tries to stop him. And when he gets in the room, he's just like, man, I fucking hate doing that. And it's just like, just the perfect picture of Marsh's life in general. It's like, he's always had to do these things. And he's like, I understand why I have to do them, and I'm going to. But I will fucking complain about it every chance I get. Like, oh, I love this cranky bastard. So is that Moonlight? Yeah. I can't read her. I don't know what her game is at this point. Like, I feel like it's been all but confirmed that Kelsier is at the top of the chain, so woo, called that one. But Kelsier was always about having something else in his back pocket, and so he's probably trying to train his little gang to do the same. So I feel like, well, Moonlight, she's nominally on our side, but I feel like if she and Kelsier think that their cause will be advanced by stabbing our group in the back, they won't hesitate to do that. So a bit leery of this bunch. But yeah, like that was fun, and Steris' chapter was cool. Yeah, I think it would be hilarious if we just don't cut back to her for the rest of the book until the end. They get back to Ellendale and found out somehow she has just become governor. She's like, oh, the governor outsmarted me. Well, we'll have to do something about this. And then it's like, how the hell did you pull that off?
The only plan I could come up with was to overthrow the governor, but it worked. So
yeah, but yeah, no. So again, a whole lot of interesting setup to come through here. Crime scene investigation, a lot of fun. Cool to see what Wayne is good at, aside from just hitting people and impersonating people. So yeah, no, it's still a bit of setup. We've had our action beat. We're recovering from that. Now we need to try and put the threads out to move to our next big plot point. But still pretty cool. But yeah, definitely the Marsh thing was a highlight for me.
Yeah, it's very different from how we saw him, like the one other time we've seen him in Arrow 2, where he's approaching Marasai in an alley and like being kind of cryptic. And this time it's just like, oh geez, I'm so tired. You guys.
Well, it's the way he describes it. It's like Sazed has the Faceless Immortals and everything. He's got his network. Kelsier has his gang he set up, has his network. Marsh doesn't have anyone. Marsh is lonely. At least that's the impression I got from it. And it's just like, I'm just done. Like, he says Kelsier, and Sazed, the three remaining members, like these three legs of a tripod. And he sounds like he's just tired of having to deal with all their shit. Like, he's just doing his thing, trying to make up for his past mistakes. And he's like, I'm constantly having to play catch up on these other two. And like, that was never really what he wanted.
Yeah. The tripod thing did get me wondering, though. It's like, I see Sazed as God, how he's a very important part of this world. And I see if Kelsier is the leader of this group and he's got like this whole protecting Scadrial thing going, maybe even in ways that Harmony wouldn't agree with, which is why Moonlight was like, we don't want to get we got to be careful about crossing Harmony and people who are too close to Harmony. So I get how that could be another leg of the tripod. I'm like, what are you doing, Marsh? Just like day to day that you're on that same level with these guys.
Well, it seems like he's trying to be the one man band who goes around and just unfucks problems. Like he didn't like Sazed didn't want him to give the book to Marasai, but he did because he felt it was the right thing to do. He thought that was like how to help with this situation. He was already in the city, like looking for this guy who had gone missing, and decided, all right, I'm gonna that's how I'm gonna take part in this conflict. It seems like he's taken the weight of the world onto himself, and he is trying to like save the world, but he doesn't. I guess he just feels like he can't or won't trust anyone else to do it for whatever reason, whether that's because he thinks they won't like they will use him in the process, or he just doesn't want to hurt anyone else by doing it. So it really seems like he's trying to do it all himself, and that's just weighing on the dude after 3 centuries.
It probably would, yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to be Batman.
See, before Wax was Batman, but Marsh may have a better claim on it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, these chapters were good. I like the Marsh bit, obviously. I think we're all big fans of anyone from the original series kind of making an appearance. Marsh especially so, because we, even in the first series, we didn't get a ton of Marsh until the end when he was being used for evil. So yeah, that was cool. I got really excited when it's like, oh, and then Death walked through the door, because I was like, so I was reading it next to my wife, was sitting next to me on the couch, and I was like, oh no, and she was like, what? And I was like, it would take a lot of explaining to tell you why I'm excited, but I'm just gonna
there's a lot of context here.
Yeah, there's a lot of context here you don't have, but I'm just gonna let you know something exciting just happened in the book, so that's what's going on. Sorry. Because she was like, oh, it's very rare that I'm reading a story and like I vocally say something even if I am excited. So she was just like, what's going on? So yeah, that was fun. It was cool. Kind of sad too, but I think, I don't think we could run into somebody from the first era of Mistborn and it not be kind of melancholy a little bit. Even if it was Kelsier, who's usually pretty jovial. Of course, at this point, we don't know that is still his go-to response. There's going to be a little melancholy involved, because there's going to be some sadness. These guys have lived through, or maybe not lived through, with whatever Cosmere shadow thing that Kelsier is. These guys have lived through and not lived through quite a bit, so there's going to be those moments, but it makes it real, which is cool. I loved, again, we got some delicious knowledge nuggets from Marsh, so him showing up was great just to get that, even to get some more insight. Their symbol being the Marigold flower, I don't think I would have ever put that together myself, so it was nice to have that spelled out for us, because I was like, I don't know what the heck this thing is. Even when you asked us, I was like, I have no idea. So that was good to get that kind of information about what that was. And as far as Moonlight goes, I want to like Moonlight a lot, but I don't know. This seems to me, the way she's written, she seems like one of Brandon's weaker characters, in my opinion. She almost seems like a badly written anime character, especially like the disguise version of her in these chapters specifically. I just get super like corny anime vibes from it. So not a big fan of how she's been written so far. That first chapter that she was in, loved it. So maybe it's just the disguise version of her that I'm not really into. But yeah, not a big fan of her in these chapters, mainly because of the disguise stuff, and also because she's like trying to basically be like, no, Marisai, we need your help. We don't need these other guys. I don't want them. You don't need to tell them what we're doing. Blah 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 blah. Like, I'm not a big fan of that. So we'll see where that goes, I guess. But other than that, really enjoyed it. The Sarah stuff was kind of sad. We were traveling today and I hadn't finished that chapter, so I had my wife read that chapter to me while I was driving. And so, she having no context for this, I was like, this is probably a good chapter for you not to have context in, because it's kind of a standalone thing where it's talking about this lady in a Senate like floor trying to get stuff done. So like, you don't need a ton of context to understand the tension here. But yeah, no, it was good to kind of get a Steris perspective. We don't get those super often, but again, kind of sad because we found her a little bit unprepared for something, and that's not her usual MO. So kind of a bummer. But yeah,
she thought she had a plan.
Yeah, she thought she had a plan, and that was the first thing I thought of. Of course, I'm not Steris, I'm not the character. The first thing I thought of was like, well, yeah, if you propose this thing, you got to make sure you're in it, right? You know that, right? Like you're gonna tell them like you propose that you head up this committee, not just that you propose that it is a thing. But that's not what happened. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I latched on to what you're saying about Moonlight, and she is kind of a different character now than when she was kind of with Marisai in the truck, being sort of more genuine. But I like the way that she seems to have underestimated Wayne. And Marisai's like, okay, man, I'm not going to tell them, but I also don't have to tell Moonlight that she needs to watch out because Wayne is more perceptive than she probably imagines.
Yes, and I actually really did like that. That was probably my favorite scene with Moonlight, where she's asking Wayne questions and he's like, no, this is how you figure this stuff out. And she's like, well, yeah, but you can't just make assumptions. He's like, I'm not making assumptions. This is how it is. And she kind of got to see Wayne work a little bit and realize, oh, this guy's actually like pretty intuitive and pretty intelligent and kind of has a skill that none of the others have. So that was a really cool moment. I think that was probably my favorite moment with her in these chapters.
I put in our chat a picture of the marrow flower and a place that people might have seen it before. I don't know. Also, I have when we were at the con, in my box of like con swag that I'd pre-ordered, there was a pin of this flower. So
yes, I had seen the pin with you at the con, but the symbol that you showed us, like, I didn't connect those in my mind at all with the Marrow flower pin that you had.
Yeah, it's hard to make that connection, and then you see it and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I see what they're going for, but it's much less geometric than the symbol.
Yes, it's much less geometric. It's a flower as opposed to the shape, which is clearly not a flower.
I see how you get there, though.
Yeah. Okay. I guess let's get into these chapters. I like that chapter 27 just starts with Wax side. It's like, the governor's here, or the mayor's here. Dang it. This is not going to be. And so, yes, the mayor.
This asshole.
The mayor is Lord Gave Entrone, who we met previously at the party in New Saran. The guy who like talked shit about Steris and nearly got hit. I think things almost did not go his way. Apparently, he came to town from New Saran 2 years ago and really jumped his way to being mayor, it seems like, in 2 years in the city. He walks in dressed in formal wear, checks his cufflinks as he enters, like, make sure that I look good for this riffraff. And Wayne does not pull any punches on his opinion of the Lord Mayor of Bilming when he says, "Oi, hey Wax, someone done sewn a sack of dicks together and made a person. It's even walking."
Yeah, that's a good moment. I like it. This is like the height. This whole chapter is just this whole section is just a really good moments for Wayne here. Like he's firing on all cylinders. He's less annoying than most of the time. So like it's just a really good group of chapters here. And Bag of Dicks was a great way to start.
Big bag of dicks.
And Wax is like, Wayne, and I like that Wayne goes, "Yeah, boss." Like I don't think we've ever heard that before, but Wax is just like, please stop helping.
I thought the best thing about it was just the fact that like everyone is stunned, and then Vendel just starts laughing. Of all the people in the room to find that funny, I wouldn't have picked him.
He's like, bag of dicks. He's probably thinking, that's my favorite snack.
I'm just thinking he's gone straight to like, oh wow, we could make that happen. We could do that.
I know what I'm doing next Halloween.
Yeah, I could turn myself into a bag of dicks, but then like make myself look like Gave at the same time,
and then I could walk around. It'd be great.
Yeah, and people wouldn't be able to tell us apart.
Halloween's costume.
Yeah. Gave and Trone, aka Bag of Dicks.
And then they have a whole argument about the jurisdictional appropriateness of Elendel Constabulary being here in Bilming doing stuff. Like even Captain Blantack's like, I mean, technically they're right. And he's like, technically. One of those dirty maskers from the south could pass a law saying they have jurisdiction here, but what right do they have? Why do they gotta be dirty, dude?
Yeah, that was like some harsh racist shit right there. It's like, these dirty maskers. Like, what the hell is your problem?
It's just an easy way to make him like a hateable character. It's like, just like not even just casual racism, but vindictive racism.
Yeah, well, and we read in the Bilming broadsheets later, they talk like it's almost propaganda on the level of like Germany during World War II against Jewish people. Like the article in the paper related to like the Southerners. It's like, wow, that's messed up.
Yeah.
It definitely makes him more hateable, but also, I mean, last time he was mean to Steris, so we already hate him. It's fine.
Oh, sure, but like this is just in case you don't remember, which I got to admit, like I said, it took me a while to remember who this guy was, and I'm just like, what did he do again? He was just a dick at the party. Yep. I didn't remember all the details, and then it's like, oh, yep, this is ringing a bell. Just fucking racist.
He also apparently had a bunch of those what we thought were coins at the time. because one of the ladies he was with was like, oh yeah, he had a bunch of those, and that's when he like tries to change the subject. So we knew that he was involved in some stuff.
No, that's right. So he hates the dirty maskers, but he's stealing all their stuff.
Well, and Wax is like, I'm pretty sure he's got set ties. Like, how else would he have risen so fast?
Yeah.
I had sort of assumed that's where he got that idea from.
And we know that, like, the set we found out pretty much runs this city. So probably they have the mayor in their pocket in one way or another.
Which is great news in the long run, because it means we'll see this guy get so punched, and I can't wait.
And so he calls Wax out. He's like, I've got you. Like, you're out here violating all the laws and, like, flouting the authority that you have spent months arguing we deserve. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to look great in front of the entire basin, basically, and show how much of a hypocrite you are. And that's when Vendel tries to pull his faceless immortal thing. He's like, I mean, we have a higher authority on our side. Let me turn translucent and show you. And Intron's like, one of the puppets. Look how it tries to frighten us, Captain Blentak. I'm not a Pathian. Why should I care about the fact that you're a emissary of harmony? He's not my god. My god is industry, progress, the indomitability of the human soul. Dude.
Yeah, look, I don't worship the Norse gods, but if Thor rocked up my doorstep with a hammer, I'd probably be willing to listen to what he had to say.
That's a fair point, actually. I had not considered this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he does, like, when Iron Eyes shows up, he does, like, bend the knees, like, yeah, okay.
Well, because Marsh does the whole, it's like, oh, well, I don't worship death. You don't have to. It's going to come for you anyway, buddy.
Yep.
Talk the big game, but when it comes to it, push over.
Well, yeah, when the Grim Reaper shows up and, like, looks you in the face and is like, make a move, yeah, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
He just does the dirty Harry. Go ahead, make my day.
But as he's talking about how, like, Mistwraith or Kandra aren't even people, they're animals, pieces of slime, and then Wayne is just like rocks up to him and he's like, yeah, go ahead, keep insulting my friends, do it. And Tron's like, okay, maybe I won't pick this exact fight.
Sorry, I have to draw attention to this moment. It's like, I don't know how much of this is Wayne putting it on a bit, but you very rarely see him cut to the chase and just be directly, like, angry. It's like, hey, I'm going to fuck you up. Normally, like, he'll make a big show of it, he'll get fancy and dance around it. And this one, he just, like, throws the gloves off and says, you want to fucking go, mate? And I'm like, that's the side of Wayne you don't really see that often.
It's true.
Even his own doppelganger, he was, like, you know, sort of making a show of that.
I wondered to myself if it's because of the Malon stuff. He's like, look, man, I was in love with one of these things. You can't call them slime.
Could be. Yeah.
You're not gonna do that.
That is a good point.
I hadn't thought about that. But I also like how this is when Entron backs down. And it's entirely possible that he knows enough about Kandra to be like, oh, the Kondra's not gonna hurt me. Like, I can do whatever I want. But and Wax is gonna be worried about the politics of the situation. Wayne is not. So he's like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll quit while we're ahead.
Your best hope is Wax dragging Wayne off you before he breaks your skull.
Yeah. And so I didn't even think about it before, but it's not just racism against the Southerners. It's like he's racist against Kandra too, in just like the most offensive way.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just an asshole. He's a bag of dicks with an asshole on top.
Yep.
And so he's like, okay, you have 1 hour until I formally announce we're pressing charges. Either break out, maybe shoot some officers, or call your governor and beg for help. And yeah, when he leaves, Wayne's just like, what a knob. And Blentak is like, I'm sorry, guys. I had to call him. I didn't have any choice. And Marissa's like, yeah, that's whatever. But you have to get that you cannot imprison us when the fate of the entire basin is at risk here. And she's like, I mean, I'll see what I can do, but this is really out of my hands. Next time, contact us before you run an operation in our city. Which I feel like that's fair. Their complaint that, like, Elendel lords supposed authority over them without actually having their permission to have that authority is, I think, completely fair. So it's hard to argue, like, that point. Although we know that their government is on some level run by the bad guys. So it's like, well, we know why they're not asking for permission, but from her perspective. And then Vendel's like, oh my gosh, I'm really your friend? I never had a friend. I don't know that he says that, but that's probably what he's thinking. Because, you know, he's a jerk, so.
Wayne's like, yeah, cool.
You're the stuck-up one that we make fun of, but every crew needs one of those. Mine has 3.
Which, dude,
I did like that. And 5 when Steris is here. Wow.
Steris counts for 2.
And you had some goodwill, and it's like every time you try and build some goodwill, man, you got to say something to ruin it.
Given the fact that we know he likes Steris now, I'm okay with it at this point. Like,
yeah, I know, but still, just the casually insulting your friends.
Wax's whole thing, ever since he was out in the roughs as like the gentleman law keeper, his whole thing was kind of to be stuck up. Like that was part of his mystique. So I get Wayne can totally call him on that. I don't think Marisai's that stuck up though. Like what that's unnecessary.
I think she's
not
stuck. Yeah, she's not stuck up. It's just that she's, even though she wasn't like a legitimate child, she was still raised as like a lady. So to Wayne, that's stuck up.
That's a good point. Like compared to Wayne's upbringing, yeah.
Right. Like, and Wax, I mean, that's something I feel like we didn't get enough of. Is like Wax walking into a rough saloon and being dressed like fancy, and people are like, "Oh, that's that gentleman law man. Yeah, he's the worst."
And then I like Wayne talking about how he's we ram a dueling cane up a part of them that I can't mention because I'm working on my language. And Marsh is like, "Wait, you are?" Yeah. Renette keeps saying I need to watch what I say because there might be children around, which is strange, don't you think? Because children are the ones who won't understand what I'm saying anyway. Maybe true, but as any parent very quickly discovers, it doesn't matter if they understand it; they will start repeating it.
It's worse if they don't understand it, because then they'll just say it whenever they want.
Sure. Yep. Well, I'm trying to convince it. You guys aren't doing a very good job of helping me out here. My son's not old enough to understand or repeat it, but my wife still doesn't want me to say bad stuff around him.
Look, I'm terrible. Like you guys, like everyone who listens to this podcast has heard what a filthy mouth I have. I try to keep it under control to varying degrees of success.
Kids.
Bring the Shakespearean insults back, so that way, like people in modern day won't understand the word either.
Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?
But yeah, no. Romeo and Juliet's a terrible play. Just saying.
Okay, sorry. And so yeah, Wax is just like, what am I gonna do? We're gonna have to figure out a way out of this, a way to get to the bomb. And he has his Trillium earring. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll try it out. I'm running out of options here. And that's when he puts it in and he starts to like hear Telson. And we're getting little bits of information. She says or is thinking, I'm not entirely clear, I need this to work. Our time runs thin. The backup delivery device is too obvious, too easy to stop. I need the primary working. And then she's like, wait, I sense something. Out with it. You fought my brother. I know that part already. Wait. And she's, Wax, is that you? You found yourself a Trillium earring. How clever. Or was it that god of yours?
So that indicates like she focuses on him and starts talking to him as though he's the person who originally had the spike. So she can identify who the spikes belong to just by sensing them.
Maybe. We know that she's supposed to be like, the avatar of autonomy or whatever on this world. So she's got some interesting abilities.
I don't think it would be because Wax didn't fight that guy that he has the spike from.
Right. Yeah.
So if she thinks it's that guy, it's the dude that got away in the last chapter that she thinks it is. Because that's the only one that he's fought recently.
I just assumed that because the spike came from the guy that Marisai killed in the sewers. Yeah.
Right.
I just assumed that.
Yeah.
She assumed that Wax had fought him.
Could be. Yeah. There's no way that she would know who fought him.
I guess.
Because they've kept the guy's death on the down low. That was how they set up their sting. So she might think he's still alive.
I mean, she doesn't just mention. She's just like, oh, so you got a Trillium earring, or was it that god of yours? So like, she doesn't seem to care, like where or think about where he got it from. It could have been Trillium from somewhere else, I suppose, depending on who knows how hard it is to find.
I thought she was just talking to someone and then kind of sensed he was there. I didn't think that she got it from the specific spike.
It just says that.
I read that wrong.
It just says that she focused on him and then says, "You fought my brother." I knew that, and then realized, oh wait, you didn't. Like, you're not that guy. You are my brother.
Oh, that is not how when I read that, I read it as if she was in the room having a conversation with this guy and he's overhearing it, and then she's like, wait a second, and she's like, Wax, is that you? In the middle of this conversation, she got distracted by Wax and the earring. But you're right.
That's kind of where I went.
It could be that she thought this guy was trying to talk to her, And then
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I read it the same way Dak did, but I did not put together that she thought it was the guy from the sewer, simply because she says you fought my brother. And I think at this point the reports would have come back about who killed who or whatever, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, Marisai was making it a point to keep very secret about what happened down there because of the sting that they were setting up. So
Right. That's true.
But she's like, so you're in Bilming. Your arrival made a characteristic amount of noise. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, what needs to be done, as always. And he just realizes, like, what do I have to argue with? Like, she knows everything that I could say, and none of it is going to make the least bit of difference. So, and then she's needling him about, like, still pretending, still telling yourself that you're the hero. And she's like, look, I'm doing what needs to be done. If I don't do what I'm doing, everyone on the planet dies. I'm saving people. I'm the hero here. You're not. You're just a child. And Wax pulls the earring out and is like, well, at least I know that Harmony was telling the truth. And also that she's on a deadline and she's worried about something. And so then he's like, okay, Vendel, so you said something about help coming from Harmony? And Vendel says it's close, or rather I should say it's here. And the chapter ends, death had arrived.
Yeah. Which, like, I feel like this is sort of undignified for the Grim Reaper. Just like he's going out doing his Batman stuff all over the city, and then then Sazed calls him and says, hey, I need you to spring my guys from jail. And Marsh is like, really? Fucking really?
Well, he's running into kind of a dead end on his end anyway, so.
Yes.
Yeah. It's such a metal moment, though. It's just like, as soon as like death arrives, it's just like
Plaintiff?
Sure.
And so then we get our broadsheet page with a couple of fun little articles. We get the entire letter to the editor about the person who's upset about the Sunni pups not being accurate. The historically egregious depictions of the Ascendant Warrior's companion as a terrorist wolfhound. Honestly, I'm still like, Tensoon, are you writing a letter because you're mad that they're not depicting you correctly? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, either that or it's another Khandra who's been like posing as a professor for years or something.
Could be.
I like the idea that Tensoon sends it and he's just using the name of a professor who's constantly just like, I didn't write this. What do you stop calling me?
We have an editorial about banning Noseball, the game of death himself.
I still want to know what it is.
I know, right? I
like
need more information.
Yeah. Why is it called Noseball? Why is it the game of death himself? Why do people find it annoying?
You know, it's going to be huge later on. Like Wayne's idea about a league is going to just like snowball, and it's going to become huge.
Oh, it's going to be a big thing in Era 3,
probably.
But it's like the game of death. It's like I picture Marsh writing a letter and just going, "Death does not play games."
Maybe it's like
there's next week's letter to the editor.
Yeah, maybe it's like the reverse of football is life. It's like Noseball is death.
Could be.
I mean, do people know that Marsh is Marsh, like from the original crew? Do people understand that? Because maybe Noseball originated 300 years ago, so they figure it's the game of death because he used to play it.
I think it's in the words of founding, like that Sazed wrote, because basically like all those epigraphs from the third book from Hero of Ages are like the book that he's writing to the people of the future to let them know how it all happened. So I think they must, if they believe that.
Marsh is like, can you stop telling people how much ruin got in my head?
What else do we get in here? We got visit the Bands of Mourning temple site. Basin Bill tours. Travels to the locale of Don Shot's famous showdown. Daily reenactments starring Treva Set Venture. So the House Venture and House Set Scion is an actor or actress.
Good old Meow Meow's descendant got with the descendants of Elend.
Ellen didn't have any kids, but
you know what I mean. Family line.
Yeah, family line. We have these are not coins. These are dangerous Malwish medallions that must be turned into the authorities. Nefarious Malwish witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Well, it's so funny because it's like in one article they're saying the Malwish are witches, and then in the next article it's like, hey, buy chocolate. It's really good.
Drink delicious Choco Tonic. Put a sparkle in your eye. The finest imported Malwish beans roasted and condensed into an invigorating beverage. Okay.
Yeah, remember those guys who said were witches in the last article? They make this delicious chocolate stuff, so we're going to sell it.
They make some great beans. We got Ilarial yearly spring salon with Terrace-inspired designs. Opens Brass Day. So there's a look at a day of the week that they use. I don't think we've heard that one.
No, I'm not familiar with that. Also, it's like Ilarial. That's a name we haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like we probably have gone to a party or something in this era, like hosted by an Ilarial, but
but it's such a minor thing.
Exactly. We got the Bendeloy Misting Cook being looked for that we already saw part of before. 1 day off a week plus 2 days off for Survivor Day or Hammondtide each year. So I guess Survivor Day and Harmontide are holidays. I mean, Survivor Day I'm not surprised by. I'm trying to think of like what's Harmontide rather. Order delivery.
Maybe Harmontide like marks the day of the new world after the Catacendre.
Could be.
It's basically New Year's Day, yeah.
Yeah.
They have steel runners who can avoid traffic and run around delivering food.
It's brilliant.
And we even see what symbol they use for temperature in the next one about weather, where it's like the high is 26, and then which symbol is this? Because each of the symbols means several things. They mean letters, but they also mean various other things. I'm going to see which one this is. 1 second. That is the symbol for cadmium, also the number 9. And I guess whatever they call their temperature. And then we have a little bit of the Flight of the Ornosaur story where we discover that big creature that Dak was like, why is there like a pterodon in here? Is what we get when the two Kandra merge together to turn into a bigger beast. One that can fly Nikki Savage around a bit.
Uh-huh.
Wait, the Kandra can Voltron themselves?
We saw the very beginning of that in the very first page of the broadsheet, because they're like, don't look at us, we're about to like combine together, just like that time that we impersonated Human the Colossus or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that. But like, Jesus, like, is that going to be like the secret end game of the story? It's like we need to fight autonomy, and like all the Kandra on stage will just combine into one beast, and then it's like fucking Kandrazilla over here.
That would be intimidating.
That would be nuts.
You think about what a Kandra can do on their own, though, and to be like, you know what, can't make that work. We're gonna need 2 of us. It's just wild.
Oh, I could just imagine like this giant, like maybe from Ralph Breaks the Internet, like the pile of Ralphs at the end.
Oh yeah.
Just like, and then all of a sudden they stand up, and autonomy's just like, whatever. You guys aren't allowed to hurt people, and this Kandrazilla just goes, people, no. We can kick the shit out of gods, though, and just punts her out of the galaxy.
We gave Tensoon control because he's willing to smack people around. So. And so this big Ornosaur is what they call it.
Oh my god, it's Ornosaur. It's even like the Power Rangers where they do the Megazord thing.
Yeah. It carries Nikki through the air to try to find the person that they're chasing. And they like smack into her midair, basically. And what follows is a frenzy of punches and kicks while she tries to hold onto the Ornosaur leg. And I like Nikki has her parasol, and she's just like beating this woman with her umbrella. Like, where's the key? And she also has some metal knuckles that says that she punches her right in the cheek and burns chromium, which that's the end of this section. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm annoyed that I keep having to wait for the next section. I guess I could go get my physical copy of the broadsheet and read it, though.
Can't do that. That's spoiler, maybe, for all you know.
How? It's just a Ricky Savage story.
And so, okay, we're back in chapter 28. Wax had never seen death himself. Marasai had met him once. Known as Iron Eyes, the ancient inquisitor, one of his eye sockets had been crushed during a fight, as recorded in the words of Founding that Harmony Sazed had left. He's got black robes and ghostly-looking skin, lean hands that appear skeletal, and he's like, I've gotten kind of used to talking to people like straight out of mythology, but this is a different thing. This being was said to escort the souls of the dead. Sorry, go ahead.
I imagine there's also just a looking. I'm just like, doesn't that hurt? Just like when you walk, do your bones like clink together because of all the spikes that probably bump into each other?
Oh, yeah. It does seem like every time you see these guys walking around with 2 giant spikes driven through their eyes, poking out the back of their head, you're like, that's gotta hurt, right? This is like that Wolverine scene where she's like, does that hurt? And he's like, yep, every time.
Yeah. It's like, dude, how do you sleep? Do you always have to lie on your side? Because that would suck. Well, I guess like if he's got all the ferrochemical powers, he could store wakefulness and just be like, nope.
He's got a special pillow designed.
Yeah, this did make me wonder, which I know we're about to get into it. I was just like, so wait a minute. Did you just like hoard all the atium you could find for hundreds of years and you've been slowly using it to stay alive? Like, where did he get this stuff?
Well, the only ones that we know he has is that there's the scene in the third book where like one of the second generation Khandra takes a big bag of atium and they're like, go sell this and come back with supplies. And then Marsh shows up to the fight with Ellen and he's like, hey, look what I found some stupid Khandra wandering around with, and he has the bag. But that's the atium the only atium we know for sure that he had.
Right. So maybe there was enough in that bag to keep him going for a long time, but
because I mean, it hasn't know how much you need.
Right, well, that's true, because it hasn't been that long he hasn't been around as long as the Lord Ruler was.
Right.
See, I thought the Lord Ruler was just because he had an atium spike, would just store age in it. So he just like, all right, live an hour as an old man, and then just like use it to become young again when I need to. And because he had that power, but he was also a Mistborn, so he could compound it. But I don't know, maybe I read it wrong, but I thought like when Miles was doing his healing stuff and his compounding, he didn't need to always be burning more gold. So I'm just like, well, I thought he just needed the metal mines. Isn't that all Marsh should need to do this? But maybe I'm just misunderstanding how compounding works.
So what you do in those, because when you burn it, it releases everything in one big burst, right?
Yep.
So you store some in a piece, you burn that piece, and you get this giant burst, and you store that burst in the metal mines so that you can then draw on it later.
Right. Okay. So you still do need to burn it in order to properly.
Okay. You would gradually burn through stuff.
Right. Because that was the thing was, they said that the Lord Ruler had a giant hoard of atium when it turned out he was using it, but most of it was being stored by the Khandra.
Yeah. And so we don't really know how much it takes to compound and remain young for a while. We don't know the exact, proportions. I think that we did get an impression at some point that as you get older and you need to make yourself younger compared to your actual age, it takes more at a time. But yeah, he's only been around for, 300 years as opposed to the 1,000 years of the Lord Rulers. So, yeah. But the Lord Ruler had a constant influx of new atium coming also. So Wax is very intimidated at first, and then at some point he's kind of like, no, I'm not going to fear this. And that's when he realizes that emotional allomancy is being used here. Death is like causing everyone to be scared or intimidated or whatever. And when Wax kind of figured out what was going on, it helps him resist, I suppose. Even Marisi, judging by how pale her face has gone, is freaking out here. And Wax just walks up to him, and Marsh is like, sword, we need to speak. It says, Death said, focusing spikes on him. So I just like the idea that the spikes are focusing.
There's how you focus a pair of binoculars by twisting the lenses round. He's doing that with the spikes in his eyes, squeak, stop it. And
then we have a constable a seeker apparently, braver than all the rest of the room combined, because he stands up and pulls out a gun, and Marsh is like, yeah, no. And he uses allomancy to pull the gun into his own hands, makes it hover in between his two hands stretched out in front of him, which Wax is like, non-allomancers do not understand how difficult that is.
That was just fucking awesome.
And then he just crunches it. Oh gosh.
Very, again, another really cinematic moment. Even though it's not battle or anything like that. It's just watching that go down would just be terrifying.
Yeah. It's intimidating to regular people, but an allomancer like Wax knows just how freakishly skilled you'd have to be to do something like this. And so it's even more intimidating. Because I guess to regular people, any allomancer doing crazy magic stuff is probably intimidating, right? And so Wax is like, how would you even do that? I mean, you'd push on and pull on the other, but the power involved. And so yeah, then Entrone and Marsh kind of meet eyes in so much as Marsh has eyes. And Marsh is like, Gave. I never cared much for the members of House Entrone. I knew during my mortality. And Entrone is just like, what? This is my who? He starts out this is my prisoner. Who? And Marsh is just like, I require privacy. You will return their weapons, and once our conference is finished, you will impede their investigation no further. I'm not of your religion. Death is not a religion. It is a fact.
That's such a cool line.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
There with I am inevitable.
Yeah, okay. It is pretty much the same thing as I am inevitable, but it's cooler.
It's like he just looks and it's like, keep mouthing off, and we'll see each other much sooner than I had planned.
Yeah. How do you want to go? What would you like?
I love, he's like, how do you want to die? And then he suggests a few things. And the last one is crushed by the weight of your own stupidity, which is the best. That's the best threat.
Yeah, that's always the way to freak somebody out. It's like, how would you like to die? Oh, here, let me make some suggestions. We could do this, or we could do this, or we could do this.
And in the end, he's just like, as you demand, Iron Eyes, it shall be done. And Wax thinks it appeared that he could indeed be superstitious without being religious. I don't know that that's actually it so much as I think that he's run into someone that he's actually scared of, where he's like, oh, this guy can and will kill me without giving a shit because he's 300 years old and he can do whatever he wants. So
yeah. It's like he doesn't care about the politics here. He's not scared of the set. He's just gonna kill me. I can't do this.
It's like, can you imagine? It's like, what are you gonna do? The political situation here ends like Death goes, what are you gonna do? Sue me?
I want to see that lawsuit get into the court. Like, we couldn't find him to serve him, or we did find him and no one was willing to serve him. And so, yeah.
Lord Death, I am here to give you this summons to court. No. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can you at least, like, if somebody asks, can you tell them that I tried to serve you? Or
no.
And so him and Wax walk back into that room where everyone is, and he's like, Wayne, watch the door, please. Make sure we're not observed or listened to. So yeah, Death knows Wayne. And Wayne's just like, sure. They're all just standing out there, except the few that have fainted. Neat. And then he's like, that accent of yours, real old. Really, I kind of actually got it right. And that's Wayne's main concern.
Nailed it.
It's like, man, you're lucky Marsh is tired right now, because he's probably just going, wait, you pretended to be me? Dude.
I think he wouldn't already know.
Yeah. when he met up with Kelsier and Saze for like the usual round table, like Saze just goes, oh, by the way, you wouldn't guess what one of my guys did. And Marsh is like, oh, for God's sake.
Saze is like, this is a great story. You're going to laugh. Like, you got to hear this.
Kelsier is at the other side of the table pissing himself laughing.
Then Saze is like, and you know what the funniest part was? He did kind of sound like you. It was great.
So Marsh just drops into a chair, and it says he seemed to age suddenly. Wrinkles coming in, jowls sagging. He's like, oh, geez, Lord Ruler, that was a performance, wasn't it? To think I was the reasonable one in the crew. And Marsh is like, are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm running low on adium. Age finally emerges from the shadows. I was here in Bilming seeking answers. They tried to recreate the metal, and I thought maybe. And she's like, so you mean if you run out, you're gonna die? He's like, yeah. I was going to let it happen. I've lived so much, far longer than my due.
If he's got an adium spike, could he like chisel some off the end of it and swallow that?
I have considered this same question, and I'm curious about it as well. Trell wants to own this planet, so your time dwindles, as does mine. See, and here's the thing. When I was reading these chapters for the first time and doing my records, I think I may have ended on like Death walking into the room or Death walking into the station or whatever. Either that or I stopped there for a while to discuss the ramifications of this. But my thing was, this is awesome because we've been wanting to see Marsh. We need some help here. But at the same time, like, how do you bring Marsh into the book to help, to go all in, basically, and not have him overshadow, like, Wax and Wayne? Because he's a Mistborn, essentially. And beyond that, really, because he's got some ferochemical powers, too. So it's like, nobody else is going to be able to keep up with him. And so when you then get into this part where he's like, yeah, I'm tired. I really can't do much because I'm almost out of him. I was like, okay, this is the way that you do that. Okay, that makes sense.
It's kind of like bringing the cast from Last Airbender into Legend of Korra. It's like they're old. Like they're getting on. Sure, they're still powerful, but they can't beat asses like they used to.
I mean, Toph was still extremely powerful, and she's just like,
well, beating the shit out of people was Toph's whole deal. So
yeah. But like her thing is that she doesn't really care anymore at that point until like her family is directly involved, and then she kind of gets into it. But she like Korra goes to her for help, and she's like, yeah, whatever. I've lived too long to care. I feel like Katara should have been more involved, but whatever. Anyway, just
that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Legend of Korra.
And so Marsh is like, I think that my display, maybe it'll convince them to leave you alone. I think that's going to be all I can offer, probably. And so he had heard that someone was trying to split harmonium, and one of those two metals will be useful to him, despite the fact that the lerasium is the more dangerous of the two. And Marsh says, like, do you know what happens when someone tries to split it? And he shakes his head and waxes. A big explosion is what we're trying to stop. And so Marsh has one lead. A man named Tobal Copper had some sort of legal disturbance that mentioned splitting harmonium before he disappeared. And so Marsh came here looking for him.
Great name, by the way.
It is.
I wondered how you end up with the last name Copper, given, you know, how significant metal is in the society. Like, did somebody born in your family line that was like a smoker, and he's like, you know what, I think I'm going to make my last name Copper.
Well, I just like sort of imagine it's probably similar to how a lot of names in our world came out. It used to be your occupation. Maybe like his ancestors controlled the local copper mines.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so Marsh also explains that he used duralumin to do that like gun crushing thing, and also a lot of practice. So Harmony is growing increasingly indecisive. He denies it, but I see it. And that gives Autonomy, Trell, a chance to move in. She seeks to eliminate us from the stage of galactic politics before we even step onto it. So there's some bigger things happening here that Autonomy is trying to control, or maybe at least head off by hitting them at this point before they can actually enter the intergalactic stage. Intragalactic.
I don't just feel so inferior. Like, you look at how much they're going through on, you know, just their kind of local and immediate politics.
Mm-hmm.
That they're having, and it's like, you know what, it actually doesn't matter. This is a little squabble. It means nothing.
But the most interesting part of this to me is when he talks about the set and hemalurgy, and he says, I do not believe they've learned the secret to compounding via hemalurgy. Identity contamination prevents it. That is our only saving grace. So he's saying that they cannot create a compounder through hemalurgy. So they can't give someone Lord Ruler powers via hemalurgy because of identity contamination. Although we know that that's exactly how he got his powers to, like, not age, because he is an atium compounder. That's how he stays young for 300 years. So something about hemalurgy has changed since he got his spikes.
I thought it was also because, well, no, because he became a Mistborn through hemalurgy as well.
Yeah, he was only a seeker before, so.
Yeah, I just know he mentions lerasium, and like he says if they had lerasium they could, and then, you know, they don't really go any further in the explanation. But my brain was thinking, okay, so if they have lerasium, then they could make somebody with the ability to compound through hemalurgy. Like, I was trying to figure that out. I mean, I guess if you could split them into lerasium and well, no, that wouldn't help you, because you'd still have to get ferrochemy ability. Yeah, I don't know.
I read it as like the identity contamination is actually Harmony's identity has contaminated the powers, because originally these are the powers of ruin and preservation, and now neither of them are around, and like they've combined, you know, like their owner is combined into one, and something about that is interfering with the powers that they originally granted.
Yeah. This is interesting because when you think about, so like, let's use Elantris as like an example. When the land changed, that changed how the powers worked.
Mm-hmm.
But when ruin and preservation became one inside Harmony, that didn't change how the powers worked, or did it? If it did, maybe it did it in a more subtle way.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's confusing, because it's like, so did Marsh's powers change when Sazed became Harmony, or is his power still somehow tied to the original separated, like the original two shards, not the now combined version?
I think maybe because he was granted the power before that contamination happened, his wasn't affected, but everything since has. Which is not how it worked on Elantris, because it was very much.
That doesn't match up with Elantris, but
who knows? It might be different for different planets. It's just we just don't know enough.
Well, there's also a conscious mind controlling all of this on Scadrial, because, you know, and it may be partly that, like, when he gets these powers, Sazed already has an idea of how allomancy and hemalurgy and ferrochemy, like he understands how these magics work, and the fact that like how he thinks about them may affect how his powers affect them.
Yeah, that's true.
On Cell, the minds behind the power are long dead.
We're gone.
And it's just
because I guess that's true. They could have, the minds in Elantris, if they were still around, they could have maybe changed the way the power worked once the land shifted.
Yeah, and it's tied so closely to the land because all that energy was dumped into the cognitive realm, and the cognitive realm has geography just like the physical realm does. And so like the magic kind of, you think about it like the magic is a liquid, and you pour the liquid over a surface that's uneven, it goes into all the gaps to fill it, right, and ends up flat on top. The liquid conforms to the shape that's underlying it.
Right.
And so it's kind of the same with the magic and the geography on Cell.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. The only thing that like I'm trying to think of, not to drag Spook into this, but like I wonder how his Mistborn power worked, because Say's was just straight up like, I made you a Mistborn, not like, he didn't leave like a chunk of Lerasium and say, hey, eat this. So I'd be interested to know how that works. Also, I mean, again, Harmony's like, well, I can't interfere too much, but at the same time, doesn't he still have the ability to just make somebody a Mistborn, or is that gone now? Is like
probably could.
Yeah, so like I don't know. I feel like if the fate, if I'm standing in front of Waxilium Ladrian saying, "Hey, you have to figure out how to save the planet," I might just be like, "Hey, since I can't like see what's going on, just here, you're a Mistborn. Go do." Which maybe our theory, some of our theories on the podcast are correct, and maybe there's some kind of thing that will make him a Mistborn in his pouches. Maybe there's Lerasium in there. Who knows? But
that whole mysterious ways thing.
Yeah.
Well, but we hear from Marsh here that he's like, Harmony is growing increasingly indecisive. So that might be part of it. Is like he can't even bring himself to make that big a decision at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, if I've tasked somebody with the fate of my planet, even if I'm a super indecisive person, if I know the odds are against that person, I would just give them whatever they needed to get it done.
And so we got Maris like, we'll stop it, Marsh, I promise. And then Maris says like, oh, by the way, have you seen this symbol before? The one that the Conjurer refused to explain to us. And this is when Wax is like, I've totally seen this. Like, oh yeah, the Field of Rebirth. It looks like a Marewill flower. And Marsh says, that's my brother's symbol. He does what he thinks is best, as has always been the case. He's not the best at self-reflection, but he does want to protect Scadrial. I think it's cute that if Kelsey is starting an organization, he creates a symbol based on the flower that's named after his dead wife, which I assume is the same flower that like she had the picture of all those years or whatever.
Yeah, I assume it probably is.
So that's kind of cute. And Wax is like, oh my gosh, so the survivor, is he still alive? And Marsh is like, I mean, I guess that depends on your definition of alive. And this is when Wayne's like, wait, he's a ghost?
Yeah.
No, but sort of.
I love this.
Marsh is like, I guess kind of.
Yeah.
And Wayne is deeply affected by this. He's like, wait. As they're leaving now, and Vendel's going to stay behind with Marsh. He's like, did you guys know the ghosts were real? And Maris says like, I mean, does it matter? Does it matter if ghosts are real? I think it matters, Marisai. I think Rusting does. And Marsh is like, I'm told it's better to refer to them as cognitive shadows. He's like, they prefer a different nomenclature.
Ghosts is a hateful term.
Wayne's just like, it's unfair to grouse at a man for getting discombobulated by definitive proof of an afterlife. Dark gods, death himself dying, rusting ghosts. Go ahead.
I've had my problems with Wayne. I am 100% on board with this. It's like you just casually drop on this man. It's like, yes, you will. Like, there is a life after death. And he's like, whoa, entire worldview shattered.
Yeah. Wayne's like the everyman in this situation. It's like, wait, you're not even going to let me pause and say, hey, this is weird. You're just like, no, let's move on. We got a world to save. Like, come on, give me a second here.
And the last line of his is I feel directed straight at Dak, where he's like, I don't want to see anyone complaining when I've traded for someone's favorite shoes or whatnot. Hear me?
Oh, I'm gonna.
It's like, look, man, there's much bigger fish to fry than if I traded a rat tail for a bun.
And so they're just gonna leave. And Captain Blantac shows up And she's like, look, he's going to send people after you. I know him. He's going to decide that you tricked him or something, and he's going to send people to arrest you. But maybe I can do something for you. If you will take one of our people with you, then I can pretend that you're working with us, and he won't have an excuse to do that. And Wax is like, no, I'm not taking one of your people. And she's like, look, this is how I can help you. Like, and besides, this is my town, and you guys, if she knows anything about Wax, what do you call it? Collateral damage is not his primary concern.
Yeah, stuff do tend to blow up around Wax. It's true.
Especially windows. He hates those.
Yeah, I love that. I still think.
Motto.
And so the person that Blantek wants to send with them is it's a slender woman with big spectacles carrying like three giant books at the same time. And it is also Moonlight.
Yeah, this very description is like anime character written all over it.
It totally, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Her name is Kim. And she's like, Blantek's like, she says she knows you? And Maris is like, yeah, we totally worked together on a thing one time. And she's thinking, like, I mean, Marsh said that the people with this tattoo would probably be on our side because we're trying to protect Skadriel, and apparently that's their deal. So, and Moonlight's like, I promise to be of use and not get in your way, except maybe by accident. And Marisai's like, I think we should bring her. And Wax trusts Marisai to the point that that's all he needs to hear. He's like, okay, you're on the team then, let's go. And it's this just reminds me, like, so she's apparently on the payroll of the Bilming Constabulary, and she also managed to slip in and pretend to be like an Ellendale constable. And so, for all we know, she's like technically on the list as working for them also.
She's collecting 2 paychecks.
Yeah.
The whole thing ends with like Kelsey saying, "Good job, Kim, but now you need to go back to Skadriel. Something about fraud."
But it reminds me of, I don't know if any of our listeners, I don't think any of you probably, but there's a webcomic that I love called Girl Genius. And there is a character in there who, in the end, turns out you figure out he's like a spy or something. But as you progress, you realize that he's somehow gotten himself into like every military. And so like they go to a new place and he just pops up like dressed in the uniform of like whatever the local military is. And they're like, is that a disguise or something? And it turns out that no, he's actually enlisted and has been for years somehow in this military also. And so I'm just like, that's bizarre. And this totally reminds me of that. So yes, Kim is a researcher. And so she's like, oh yeah, we can go find information on this Tobal Copper guy in the records office. I'll show you. And so they're waiting for, they're at the records office. They're waiting for people to come in with the information they've requested. And Marisai says she's going to go send a quick message to Alec just to let her boyfriend know that, hey, if you read about some Ellendale constables dying, I wasn't one of them. Don't worry. Which, that's a very considerate thing. Thank you, Marisai. And Moonlight's out here like, oh, good. I was hoping you'd take my cue and slip out. And Marisai's like, that's not what I was doing, but whatever. And so they have a discussion where she's basically like, look, you cannot tell those other two. You cannot tell Wax and Wayne who I am. Or I'm going to help you. I've gotten orders that I'm allowed to help you out here. But my price is that you can't tell them the truth. My mentor is worried about their connections to Harmony. And then she also tries to kind of like nudge her a little bit by like, hey, doesn't it excite you to know stuff that like Wax doesn't?
No.
Yeah, Marisai's like, no, I don't need to keep secrets from other people to feel special. And Moonlight's like, I believe you. That's weird. Okay. In the end, I think her best argument is like, look, Waxilium trusts you and he will understand why you couldn't. When you explain to him why you couldn't tell him later on, he'll get it. And eventually Marisai decides that, yes, this person's help is probably worth having, so fine. But as soon as they come in and Moonlight's acting all, one way, and she sees Wayne pretending to nap, but secretly like watching Moonlight, and Maris is like, don't overdo the act. He's going to catch you. So Tobal Copper was a 53-year-old chemist specializing in rubber and working for Basin Tires, making, tires. Lost a job 5 years ago for erratic behavior. Let's see. He was banging on doors in his apartment complex yelling, they've almost split Harmonium, and when they do, it's going to destroy us all. Which we're like, oh, yeah, no, that's not erratic behavior. That is like 100% accurate, right?
Sounds like someone not wanting anyone to know they were trying to split Harmonium.
Yeah. Also, there's a report of like apparently for 2 years now, like food shipments have been vanishing. And they're like, why would the criminal underworld be so interested in canned beans? Whereas Marisi is immediately like, aha, somebody is building shelters against like a cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
And, or rather, she's reading his claims on a piece of paper that someone is doing that. They fired me because I got too close to the truth. You have to listen. They're splitting harmonium, and once they do, they'll make bombs to turn us into turtles.
I love how she's like, yeah, that part didn't make as much sense, but everything else checks out.
But it's only a little far-fetched, not completely, but just a little.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been like, oh, they're gonna turn us into volcanoes. That would have been more interesting, I think.
He had his reasons for choosing turtles over any other kind of animal, so.
Yeah, I just like I love the thing here where you're like, you get, even before the turtles, you get why to the average person in this city this guy sounds nuts, but we're like, we've got extra information, so we know that actually he's right on target. And then you get to that last line and you're like, oh,
okay, maybe he's a little bit nuts.
Maybe he was a little bit nuts. Yeah.
You can still be nuts and right.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It just makes it harder to notice that you're right.
Yeah, like that Mel Gibson movie, Conspiracy Theory.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good example, actually. It's Patrick Stewart is the bad guy. It's excellent. He's always a good bad guy.
I'll add it to the list.
But
yep, Mastermind's also a good example of that.
Masterminds is such a not popular movie. I don't think last I looked, you can't even buy it on DVD. It was only available on VHS because it's such a, oh gosh. Anyway,
you can stream it on Tubi. I found out because I watched the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, now I got to go and watch that on Tubi. It's just like one of those free streaming TV services.
So it has ads, but it's free. You don't have to pay for it.
Okay, I'm gonna find this now because it's been forever since I watched that movie.
I couldn't sleep the other night. I say it was Tubi. It might have been Freevee. It's either Tubi or Freevee.
Okay. But for anyone not familiar with Masterminds, starring Patrick Stewart as the bad guy, it is Die Hard in a school, and it's really it's not a great movie, but I love it.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I think it was set in like 97 or something because it was like the year Scream 2 came out.
Yeah, 1997. Yep.
And then also it's not the Masterminds with Zach Galifianakis, so don't watch that and be confused because that's a different movie. But yeah, it's good. It's got the guy. He went on to be in Mad Men as Pete Campbell.
Yeah. The main character is teenage Vincent Kartheiser, who he played Pete Campbell in Mad Men. Apparently, most recently he plays Scarecrow in the show Titans.
Oh.
Yeah. He was also in that really bad Justin Timberlake movie where they get paid in time so that they can live forever. It was weird.
In Time?
Yeah, that one.
I liked the concept of that movie, just not so much the execution.
He was in Angel.
Yeah.
I didn't see most of Angel, so I didn't realize that.
All right, I just looked it up. Down here, Masterminds, the best we can do is rent it for $5 on Apple TV, and we don't even have Apple TV, so.
So it looks like we won't be watching it.
Oh, yeah, we could rent it for $4 on YouTube, but I've got better things I can do with $4.
Yeah, I'm sure you have better things to do with $4, but I'm totally gonna go and watch it later because
if you can watch it for free, watch it.
I had that on VHS as a kid, and I loved it despite how ridiculous it was.
Oh, possibly so good.
Possibly in large part because of Patrick Stewart.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's putting on a clinic in this movie. Is what I'm trying to tell you. He's the best actor in the film.
But I assume that to get back to the book, when he says turn us into turtles, that it's like a metaphor for like you have to live underground in these fallout shelters or whatever. But maybe he was just nuts. I mean, either way.
I think it's more fun if he was literal. It's like, no, there's some creepy science in this thing. It's gonna turn us into turtles.
Weird science.
Actual turtles.
Yeah, or maybe there's like a TMNT crossover, and he's like the fallout from this is gonna turn us into walking, talking turtles.
And then you have to remember that what the seal of Bilming is like the big tortoise or whatever on a shield. Oh. So there's some weird through line here.
Well, tortoises are largely land animals, and turtles are sea creatures. So there's got to be a
No, this is it, guys. I got it. Autonomy is actually a giant space turtle.
Discworld. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end this chapter by hey, Kim, do you know where this apartment address is? And so they're going to go check out Copper's apartment. They get there. They get in without much of a problem. And then Wax asks if anyone else has been in here. And the manager says no. And Wax is like, so he disappeared 2 weeks ago and no one has come looking. No constables, no family, no nothing. Okay. And Marissai, after the manager leaves, like, so they grabbed him or killed him and then left his apartment alone and visibly pristine? Trap. So he's going to use allomancy to like try to find traps, which they do. 3 tripwires and a pressure plate.
Oh, come on. How do you know it was a trap? Maybe she just really wants to see you. Did you see the part where we fought? No. Trap.
My favorite is the deleted scene version of that, where he just screams trap. Serenity, also a great movie. That one you should watch. So yeah, they're gonna, now that they found the traps, they're gonna search the apartment. Wax is like, be careful, might have missed some. And then says, Kim, would you encourage anyone in the neighboring apartments to leave for the next hour or so? Which I do like that idea, where it's like, let's go ahead and just, in case, get the neighbors out so they don't die accidentally.
Probs don't want to blow up the neighbors.
What are you going to do if like a cop shows up at your house and is like, hey, we'd really like it if you could vacate for an hour or so just because there's a risk of explosion?
Do you have insureds? No. Get the hell out.
Are you by chance a Khandra who could not be blown up? No? All right, leave.
And so they start investigating, and Kim's like, why are you guys even searching? Hasn't your enemy already been over this place real thoroughly based on what we're finding? And Wayne's like, yeah, I mean, I can even prove it. Like, look at these little drill holes. That's what you do when you want to make extra sure there's not a secret compartment, but you want to leave everything in one piece. And he says it's like a fight, a dance. Like, they set the traps in case someone dangerous gets wind of it, but that means that they're worried that there's something we might find. And this is when he points to Wax and Marissai and talks about how Wax doesn't have schooling to be a police officer. Like, he had a different kind of schooling. He was a rich person who went to fancy schools, but also like Terrace scholars because he was part Terrace. Marissai, on the other hand, has studied how to do this her whole life. So between them, but they're both amazing law keepers. Like, Wax is all instinct and Marissai is all knowledge. You put these two together and it's like, you can't beat this, basically. But leaves out what is going to be his contribution, which proves to be integral here. Sorry. And when she asks, she's like, what do you bring to the team? And he goes, comic relief, a little whimsy, improvisation, vision. You have a broad imagination? There are broads in my imagination almost all the time.
I love those are my 2 favorite parts, where he's like, vision, and then she's like, and then the broads line. Those are great, both of them.
What he does find is an imprint on some envelopes of some numbers that someone had written on a different envelope, and it rubbed off. So they're like, okay, they kind of make out some numbers here. Marissai says that all the books have been replaced. The set took every single book and then filled the bookshelf with different books, just in case there was something in there that might tip us off. Which, that is a lot of trouble to go through. Books are heavy. Wayne says that, I think this fellow is dead. He finds a bullet hole. And then Marissai goes and digs out some blood and what might be a bit of bone. It's like, yeah, he's probably dead. And Wax says the tire company thing has got to be a front. He's a chemist. He was probably working on like the weapon system that they're going to use. And when he realized what they were doing and heard about the splitting harmonium, maybe he was already a little eccentric, he decided to try to save the city, but no one wanted to listen. And so they think the numbers they found might be like a code to a locker or something. But once they give Wayne enough information about what kind of guy this was, and then they bring him a hat, one of this guy's hats, for him to put on. And I was really worried here when I read it that that he was gonna go a little too far here and like start pulling out these things that there's no way he could know, and that it was like, hat was gonna magically turn him into this guy, basically. But I feel like they rode the line really well of using the information we had and letting Wayne extrapolate from that without it seeming like crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I thought at first they were just gonna be like, okay, Wayne, you're this guy now, let's go. But they did a pretty good job, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I thought this was really well done.
And so Wayne's like locking away information in a locker is what somebody else might have done. But when you start thinking like this guy, that's not what he would do. He's looking to get this information out there. He wants people to know. He's screaming it. He's running down the hallways, like banging on doors, trying to tell people. He's not going to hide this. What local, and Wax is like, okay. What local broadsheet has the worst reputation? Publishes whatever nonsense it can get its hands on. And Kim goes, there's at least 7 of those. And Wax's way of narrowing it down is, which one syndicates the writings of that fool Jack? And it's the Sentinel of Truth. Yeah, it's great, right? The Sentinel of Truth just happens to have its address is the exact numbers that they found on the envelope. And Wax is like, way to go, Wayne. And Wayne goes, it's easy when you have a lot to work with. And Kim's like, wait, that was a lot? Sure. A man's whole life. And then just when I was starting to be like, when are we going to see some more Steris? We get a Steris chapter. And so Steris, the news has already broken. Constable's dead. Botched Ellendale operation. Secret Ellendale constable force undermines local police. So yeah, things are spinning out of control. And there's the most ridiculous exchange I feel like ever, where Adawathwin, the lieutenant governor, calls her out and is like, explain this. Acting senator of House Ladrian. And Steris is like,
yes.
This operation was fully improved by the constables general under the authority of the governor himself. Everything that was done was not only legal and documented, but fully approved. And the governor's like, sometimes it doesn't matter if there's permissions and documents. An act can still be improper. And that Steris is like, what? How dare he?
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're the one who gave us permission to do it. What are you talking about?
It like goes against the very core of her that after everything is written down, I's dotted, T's crossed, everything signed off on, that you can then be like, yeah, that's still not enough.
Yeah. Well, it's also BS too, because it's like they're exerting the exact kind of control that the governor said they should be exerting. And it's like, oh, but it looks bad on us, so that's messed up. You can't do that.
Yep, yeah. Gonna throw you under the bus.
But then she has her plan where she's like, there's actually more information here. There's a much bigger issue here. This is an emergency. It's not just a simple constable operation. There's a big thing happening here. I move that a select council be formed to deal with the emergency. A governor's select council is a small commission, we're explained, that usually gets put together to handle small scale matters like traffic needs. And she was shocked that it had never been used for an emergency before now, because, yeah, I mean, a small group is going to make a decision about what to do in an emergency a lot faster than the entire Senate trying to vote, right? So, and the governor's like,
it's from the historical document Shin Godzilla. Now that's a great movie.
And the governor's just like, wait, we can do that?
He's like, wait, that's allowed?
It's like, oh, God.
And then they have a quick talk and eventually have to call a legal clerk over to be like, is this in the rules? And so eventually the governor's just like, this is an excellent idea. Motion to vote on creating a select council. And he gives a pointed look to some senators in the room, including a Set, who are among the most powerful faction leaders right now. And his look says, if you vote for this, if you put your influence in here, then you'll get on this council. So you'll get a very powerful voice in this thing. And so it passes. The council has 24 hours to deal with the crisis. And he picks his council, because it's a governor's select council is what it's called. He gets to pick who's on it. And once he picks everyone, Steris realizes that she did not get called. And so she's like, wait, this is not. Yeah, whoops, exactly. And she's like, was there an implication that I was supposed to be there, or am I just being left out? And so she's going to follow them. And this is when the Malwish ambassador, the new guy, steps in. And he's like, hey, I'd like to observe this. And the governor's like, I mean, this is really an internal matter. And then the guy just straight up bribes him. I have a pleasure craft of personal ownership docked in the city. Perhaps you would find it useful to borrow to observe the business.
Yeah. You want to take a ride on my sweet orgy airship? You know, that just makes me think of
freshly cleaned.
Yeah, it just makes me think of Thor Ragnarok. It's like he uses it for his good times, you know, orgies and stuff.
And the governor just takes this bribe, like right out in the open, like, okay, yeah, you can be on the council. Why not? Which there's two things here that stand out to me. One, what does the Malwish guy want here? Like, this can't be just a whim that he's going to come up and bribe the governor in public. There's a reason that he wants to be on this council. And I feel like people should be worried about that.
Well, we know that he's got it in for Wax So if this council is going to be reacting to the situation that they're saying Wax created, he's going to want to be in on that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that might be it. I don't know that we saw him talk to Wax. I don't know that it was that personal that he's like, I don't have it in for this guy, but he definitely views him as an opponent.
He took the bands and they wanted him.
It's true. I mean, he doesn't have them, but yeah, he did take them.
It's true.
But if he's already in there and observing matters as it is, wouldn't you want to get in and observe every part of it? It's like, oh, this is general counsel. Wonder what that looks like. All right, let's go have a look. Maybe something will come up of use, maybe it won't. And I mean, the Malwish are really not happy with the Basin in general, and particularly Ellendale. So if there's any hint of civil war, which there absolutely is, you'd want to jump on and embrace that as well.
It's true.
Find your weak spots.
Yeah, that would be a really good reason to be there, is if you think they're going to show some sort of weakness you can exploit. That's a good thought. But that leads to my other question of, is the governor that dumb that he's just like, yeah, why not? Come on in. Or
yes,
does he have his own like agenda with letting this guy in?
No,
I mean, he could have an agenda. Yeah, I mean, his lieutenant governor or vice governor literally face palms. Like it's very clear that this guy's an idiot.
She'd have to work hard to spin that exchange. Okay. And so, yeah, she tries to get in. And apparently Adawathwin has been receiving the letter, or at least a letter that she sent about this bomb, and didn't even bother to show the governor. Your house has a history of inflating problems.
Doesn't mean you hide a bomb threat. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. This lady has set insider written all over her, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
she's definitely puppeteering this fool of a governor into doing what the set wants.
It does seem like what other reason do you have for hiding the threat of a bomb that could blow up the whole city?
Yeah.
Especially if you're
also,
in the city.
Right. And what else could her agenda be? Like, what possible thing could she want? Money? Like, other than that, it's like money or you're in the set. Like, there's really no other reason why you would be doing these things, I feel like.
And Stera says, this is different. We have confirmation from Harmony. And Adawathwin says, if Harmony himself was going to speak to someone, wouldn't he speak to the governor? What is this guy? Is this guy the fucking Pope? Like, what?
Yeah. He's a space Pope.
Space Pope. So yeah, they're not going to listen. Basically, you have no proof, no actual proof. So screw you, and you're not invited to the council.
Which, look, I get wanting evidence. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to cause a panic when there's no evidence, but they're clearly using it as a means of just dismissing her.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, she's left humiliated, standing in the middle of the floor, and the chapter ends with her being like, actually, maybe there's a way. Like, she's like, I can take the rest of the day to plan how to deal with this. No time for planning. I have to get in there, and maybe there's a way I can do it. And that's where we end.
Go Steris.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel a team up with Alec coming on. I'm just throwing out an early predicament there. That's my predicament.
that'd be sick.
Look at her with some character growth of no planning. I have to do. But yes, speaking of, that's where we are. Let's move into predicaments. What do you guys think is where we're going?
Well, I think that we got some more evidence towards my prediction that Wax is Mistborn today.
Really?
He was able to, so he was able to not sort of feel the full effect of Marsh's allomancy with soothing or probably writing or a bit of both. But he was like, it was not affecting him as much. So if he was burning, is it bronze?
Copper, I think.
I have a terrible memory. Yeah, so like unconsciously, then that would be a thing. How he would have had all these metals in him to burn, I don't know. We know that Vin had traces of these metals, from the water when she was using her luck. So we know it's possible. But if you start adding these things up, I think I'm still very comfortable with that prediction, and I'm going to maintain that prediction.
Harmony gave him like the special vials and was like, use these instead of your regular metal vials. So maybe
and then use that whatever the last one was, which I thought was Harmony's way of getting him to trial them, but then he lost them all? Did it say he recovered them, or they were just gone?
I don't know, actually. That's a good point. Like, because that guy grabs his belt and like pushes off of him.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it does say he recovered his belt.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe he's got some other traces of things there.
Yes. Sorry to cut in, but it does specifically mention
It does.
he felt inside his belt, which he'd recovered.
Okay, good. Awesome. Yes, so I've got that. And I don't know why specifically I got there, but I remember having this thought about Wayne not making it through the book, because we know some pretty crazy stuff's going to happen in this book. I had thought that if Marsh is effectively dying, someone maybe needs to take over from him at some point, and maybe it would be Wayne.
Oh,
They've now talked about, yeah, because I thought, wouldn't it be weird if like Marsh with Wayne ended up effectively being Harmony, like Harmony decided it's time to move on. We know it can happen. We know that, for one reason or another, that someone else can take up the power. If the metals were split again, I don't know. We've got a lot coming in, splitting the harmonium. We're talking about Adium. Death's having some issues. And it sort of just popped into my head that, yeah, okay, maybe we'll lose Wayne, but he's been talking a lot about the stories. He's talking about his mum. Something significant's going to happen to Wayne in this book. And I just had the thought, like, what if at the end he takes that over? Marsh is done and Wayne sort of semi-dies, and, wouldn't that be interesting if he was the person to guide people into the afterlife effectively? He could spend eternity pretending to be someone they knew or something to guide them on their way. That's my big crazy out there prediction, that Wayne will end up being the new Death himself.
I like that. Weird.
Super weird. And I'm not very good at making the really weird, out of control ones. I like to wait for evidence and then tell you what I think. But it just popped into my head. I'm going to run with it. Let's go.
I can just imagine the ridiculous things that like Wayne would pull, like as somebody's crossing over and he's like, I'm going to mess with him. This will be great.
Yeah.
It's like Bender when he works at the cryogenics place.
Yes, exactly like that. Yep. Okay. I'm a horrible robot. Okay, this is good. I also like that you had further support for we're going to keep tracking this potential Mistborn indicators in Wax. I like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot this week, just because I feel like we're still, like I said at the start, it's like it seemed a bit of come down info set up for future. So the biggest one I got is I agree. I don't know about Wayne becoming Death. I think that's a cool idea, but I definitely see Marsh is not gonna make it out of this book. Just like he's just talking about, I'm getting old, I'm past, like it's gonna come for me. It's like, well, I feel like that's pretty obvious that he's gonna go pretty quickly. So I hope he gets one last chance to act on it. This is petty as fuck. I really hope that like he gets to, we're gonna see Gabe Entrone more throughout this book, and he's gonna be doing stuff. And then right as he's got them over some like villain death trap or something like that, Marsh just steps up behind him and goes, remember me? And like shoves him into the pit or something. I would just love to see Marsh get one back on Entrone at the end there after their interaction. But yeah, no, I think Marsh is on his way out, and I feel like Kelsier will be involved somehow. Not necessarily in that he kills Marsh, but he will be there when it happens, and like maybe that'll be something to get through to Kelsier. It's like, this is how much you fucked up in what you're doing. Like your brother needed you, and Kelsey's like, well, he never told me. And everyone's goes like, man, in all the history, did you ever once ask?
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sad.
We love Kelsier, but he's very much a me kind of guy, and he saw that when Doxson died. So it's like he never learned. Yeah, that's really all I've got. I don't have much else.
It's interesting, like that question of like, I wonder how much Kelsier has learned, because both Kelsier and Marsh have been alive since we last saw them, a lot longer than they were ever alive in like before and during the original trilogy. Like they were, 30s or something maybe in the original trilogy.
Several hundred years old.
Yeah, they've lived 10 times that life since then. They could have both changed enormously, and the people that we knew might not be much like what they are now. But it makes you wonder.
What we've seen of Marsh, he seems like similar, just like he was always pretty cynical. So
Yeah.
I guess he's just gotten older and more detached. But then, like I said, I get the impression he doesn't really operate with a lot of people, so he doesn't really have people to challenge his viewpoints or everything. So like Kelsier might be an entirely different barrel. I don't know. His whole thing is like he wants to punch more gods, so he's probably here to punch autonomy.
Yes, I still like this thing. It's like Kelsier's out to punch all the gods.
Oh yeah. I need to come up with predictions related to the central characters because I just don't do that these days.
Like we're gonna predict for Marsh and Kelsier, and although I mean you called the Kelsier was probably at least this was his group or he's involved in it somehow, and that panned out.
Yeah, it's like they never come out and say it, but like their symbol is Kelsier's symbol.
Yeah,
so
it's Kelsier's
like
symbol, so you figure
pretty clear.
Yeah, I kind of made a small prediction earlier. I'm gonna go a little further with predictions I've made in the past. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before. I think that Moonlight, especially now after seeing Wayne in action, he's going to go up in her estimation. And so she's not only going to invite Marisi along, but I think there's going to be kind of a point where Wayne realizes like, okay, well, my work here is done. And so she's going to invite him along, and whether Marisi goes, I think Wayne's going to leave the planet and, or at least go off with Moonlight to do stuff, whatever that may be. I think that may be ultimately where we're heading with him. So not so much a death, or maybe he fakes his own death to do it, but
yeah, you talked about that possibility before, him like faking his death.
Yeah, because and today in the section that we read, there's a moment where he's thinking about his mom's story, and I'm like, that's kind of random for him to be thinking about that right now. Is it just because the word plateau was said? But yeah, I mean, that's got to play in, I feel like, a little bit somehow. So we've got that possibility still. I don't know if Marisi is going to take Moonlight up on the offer or not. Again, maybe it just depends on how much needs to get done. But I think I'm still going to hold to the theory that the off-world army is going to have to be taken care of by, like, Kelsier's group. And so maybe that's what will motivate Marisi and Wayne to kind of go off with these folks. I think I've said that before too, but I'm gonna stick with that. I think that's a good reason for them to kind of leave their friends, because it's like, well, we're gonna stop it on this end. You guys have got to go help stop this other thing. And so we've got that. I feel like Steris has to meet back up with everybody at some point, but maybe not. Maybe she's handling stuff in Elendel and she's taking care of business within the city while they're taking care of business elsewhere. That's a good role for her to have as well. Yeah, I think a team up with Alec, like I said, is possible. She's going to be flying up there and being like, hey, let me in. So that'll be fun. And other than that, I don't know if Kelsier himself will show up. Maybe a proxy of some sort. But yeah, the more Jamie has said it, the more I'm kind of with her. This book's called Mistborn. Somebody's got to be Mistborn. Maybe Wax already is. That would explain some of the weirdness that's been going on, or maybe he's yet to be. But yeah, I feel like Jamie's 100% on track. Somebody's got to be a Mistborn, and the most likely candidate is our main character.
Okay, I like this idea of Wayne and Marisi heading off together as like partners in visiting other worlds or something. But it's so if this other group is going to have to take care of the army, which presumably is coming from another planet, maybe they have them hiding around here somewhere, but so do like Wayne and Marisi go to another planet or to the cognitive realm or something like that to fight this army?
Maybe they travel through a perpendicularity. I don't know. It seems logical. I mean, because I don't know, just from Moonlight's description and what we've learned, it sounds like these people aren't just Scadrial people. Like they're the protectors of Scadrial, but it sounds like they come from other planets. So the idea could be pretty easily like established that they're traveling between worlds for sure, especially because Moonlight has now said, I've met Autonomy face to face, and clearly Autonomy's never been to Scadrial, like in person. So that's pretty big indicator to me that they're from another planet. At least some of them. Maybe some of them are also from Scadrial.
Moonlight told us previously, he's like, oh yeah, you don't have that word here because you guys don't have a moon here.
Right. Completely different world. But yeah, so I think it's definitely possible that they could be traveling to different worlds, especially if the army is on another world. It's like you gonna have to go and travel there for sure.
What if they head somewhere else and get stuck there, and then like they're having to, it's like lost in space.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and hit 4 next time while I'm thinking about it. speaking of what happens in the rest of this book, we're going to do, I almost said the 5 chapters we read this time. No, it'll be different chapters from the ones we read this time. We're going to read 6 more chapters, which will be 32 through 37. So for anyone following along, that is for next time, 32 through 37. In the meantime, we have some emails and we have a couple of new patrons. We pull those up and we'll start there. The first new patron that we have is at the ska level, and this patron is called The King's Wit, which is it's a future Cosmere reference that you guys will not understand yet.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right, King's Wit, since you're trying to spoil us with your name, you can be you could store warmth. You're a fire soul.
I just like the name on that one. That's a cool name.
Yeah, Fire Soul. It's good. The name is cooler than what it is, in my opinion.
I mean, if you want to be like an Arctic explorer, then
sure,
could be useful. And our other new patron is also at the ska level. It is Jacob.
Jacob, you're a wind whisper. You store senses. Good old tin.
That one's very very multi-purpose because you can store the different senses and do different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Would you be like a super taster or like a super smeller? You could be like a bloodhound, man. That'd be awesome.
Or if you have to eat somebody's cooking that's really bad, you just store up the taste while you're eating it. Like you can't taste anything. It'll be great.
Damn. Yeah. You won't offend anybody you go to a dinner party with. You'll just be like, oh, this looks disgusting, but I'll just store my taste. There we go. Perfect.
So thank you. Patrons, all patrons, everyone who's backing us on Patreon. We really appreciate the support that you feel like contributing to the podcast. You guys are awesome. We also have some emails, so let me bring those up. The first one is from Krista. It's titled The Podcast. It's a very short one. Hi, I found your podcast not too long ago and have been enjoying listening to all the reactions. Not sure if or when you will read this, but since I've just started Mistborn Era 2, I thought I could try and read along with the episodes. Can't wait for you to cover the Stormlight Archive eventually. That's it.
Thanks, Krista.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm also eager for us to eventually get to the Stormlight Archive. Although I have to say that Dak and Jamie got their copy of White Sand this week, and I saw the
finally
update.
Got here from whichever fucking country it went through next.
All the countries.
Yeah, it got to you guys from the UK relatively quickly, so I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, once it got back to America from Jamaica.
Yeah, it was weird. It went to New Jersey like 2 or 3 times, and then to Jamaica and back to
I should have made a stop over in fucking Honduras or something.
But yes, they got theirs, and I just saw the update for the Indiegogo campaign today that my version is done and should be shipping out soon. So we may all have them by the time we get to the end of the Lost Metal, in which case we may run straight into that next, since we were supposed to already have read that at this point. And once we get into some of the information in there, you will probably understand why I wanted us to read it before we read this.
How long do you reckon that'll take us to read?
That is an excellent question, and I have downloaded the electronic version to try to get an idea. But since I've always used Kindle locations as kind of yardsticks for this, and it's not just about how fast you can read a comic, because there's visual details that you want to be able to take in also. Yep. So I'm working on that is the answer. I'm gonna I don't know. I may read this next section that we're going to read and time how long it takes me, and then time myself reading the comic and maybe add some onto to try to figure out what would be kind of equivalent to what we're already doing. But I don't know yet. I'm working on it.
Alrighty.
Should be interesting since this will be the first time we've done this, and there's not he doesn't have a lot of graphic novel stuff out, and this is the only thing so far in the Cosmere, so it's not something that'll come up a lot, but it'll be interesting to see. Okay, next email is from Isla. Is that Isla? Isla?
That's how I would say it.
Okay. The title on this email is Mid-Binge Email to Hear in the Distant Future. It says, "Hi, Dak, Data, Jamie, and Joe. I'm currently binge listening my way through your podcast on Secret History Episode 1 and looking forward to hearing my email read out, hopefully, when I get to whatever episode you are about to do. I have enjoyed all of your episodes so far, and especially seeing the insights that the trio have made. Sanderson really lays the groundwork so that the observant reader can see what's coming. I can't wait to see how the Lost Metal goes when all 4 of you get to be first-time readers." Spoiler, we weren't all 4 first-time readers while we're recording this, but you've probably figured that out by now. My friends and I are in the middle of introducing another friend to Brandon Sanderson, so we're waiting for her to catch up so we can all enjoy the Lost Metal together. Hopefully, we will get there around the same time I get to those episodes on the podcast. Wasn't to the time of next, Isla.
That's so awesome, man. I love hearing about people who are discovering us at this point and kind of got a library to go through. That makes me feel good about like the time that we've put in on this. It's nice to hear people that are still discovering our show.
Yeah, I hope that you've made it this far. I mean, you made it through the whole first trilogy and into Secret History, so I think you're on the train at this point.
Yeah, and as Barrett says, ain't no getting off of this train we on. Or my favorite wrong quote of that within the game itself: "This train we on don't make no stops."
Oh yeah,
I like that one.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Isla. We got one more that I'm going to read. That's another pretty quick one. This one's from Naomi. Hey, Sanderlanche crew, it's Naomi again. I'm still loving the podcast and your predicaments. When Dak guessed Trell was plagiarism, I died laughing, considering what Moonlight later says to Marasai.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Something that is not a laughing matter is memes. I unfortunately got major Stormlight moments spoiled for me due to memes. Please don't look up memes. And then she tells me what the spoiler was.
It's difficult. It's a difficult thing. You know, you want to be into something and look up funny stuff about it on the internet, but you don't know what you can and can't look at. So just kind of steer clear.
Yeah. You stay off TV tropes until
I find it easier just to not and just don't look up any of it, because if you look up one thing, if we were to start looking up Mistborn, Final Empire or something, and it'll go, oh, you like that? Maybe you'll like this. Boom, spoiled. So I just don't look up Brandon Sanderson at all. Sorry, Brandon.
Probably, the best approach to take, because you're right. It's very easy for it to start slipping things in at you.
Yeah.
She goes on to say, the main reason I'm emailing y'all is when Dak mentioned super ghosty magic, this popped into my head. I'm not the best artist, but I hope you enjoy. And so I will share with you guys this picture.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, cute.
That's great.
I love him.
I am in love with this ghost.
I love them.
Or them. That's
Oh, wow.
So cute.
That's great.
It's like a mixture of Casper and Gandalf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Sweet ghosty magic.
Super cute. Thanks for sending that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Makes me wish I had a muffin button.
You know what? Let's go back to Jamie's prediction about Wayne becoming deaf. That's his outfit.
Yeah.
That would be, wouldn't it? Oh my gosh.
I'm just imagining Wayne's like, oh, I'm all spooky and shit.
I'm a ghost.
Wayne would just be like, can I have your hat?
Yeah.
You don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
Hey,
mate, hey, mate, you're about to die, so can I have your hat?
It's like every time he greets someone new, he's wearing the hat of the previous person.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
He'll just keep trading people for their hats, so you go into the afterlife with a hat that's not yours.
And then he gets to one person and just like, hey, I need your hat. And it's like, oh, I don't have a hat. Well, then fuck off.
I'm not interested in talking to you then. Okay. Thank you, everyone who sent us emails. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, all those sorts of places, internet-type places. We're out there doing internet stuff, being internet dudes. Music by Miracle of Sound. Get that in there. Like I said, we are going to do 6 more chapters for next time. So 32 through 37 for everyone going along with us. And we are, at this point... We are 44% of the way through this book, so we'll probably hit the halfway point next time. I hope everyone is enjoying this newest Sanderson book. I guess technically no longer the newest since Secret Project 1 came out January 1st.
Yeah,
so I can't even say that anymore.
Oh, have you figured out where that's going to go in the order?
I have an idea of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% yet. And this, I think it's going to be one of those things that we might throw in there somewhere in the middle of Stormlight, depending on if you guys are like, we want to break after this giant Stormlight book, or if you're like, no, I'm so into the Stormlight story, I want to go into the next one. So that may be what it comes down to. That's kind of where I'm leaning at the moment, but we got time to decide that. It's not going to be next. I guess I can say that much.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for listening, especially all of you people out there who have been with us for so very long, tuning in each week. Thank you to emailers and patrons and just everyone who takes an interest in the show. You guys are all awesome. To our Discord people, if you want to join the Discord where conversation has been fierce lately, but often about some weird stuff. Even one person was like, man, I wish Data would give them more updates when we get into really bizarre conversations in the Discord. And I'm like, I don't even know how to explain this stuff most of the time. So,
it's like trying to explain a joke. It's like, man, we're not in there. We're not going to get it.
But to finish my sentence, I guess, if you want to join the Discord, there is a link from our website at thesanderlanche.com or www.thesanderlanche.com. You need the W's to get to the right place. Or if you're too lazy to find an internet address, you can email us at thesanderlanche@gmail.com and ask me, and I will happily send you one, or find me on Reddit, where a lot of people locate me, and ask for the same thing. So there's lots of ways to join up the Discord or to send us your comments or whatever you have. Thank you to everybody. 6 chapters for next time, and wasing to the time of next. Colo?